Ja, schönen guten Tag. Erstmal, hello. Should we ask the question first? Is anyone in the room who does not understand German? Does everyone? I mean, we wanted to find out if it's okay that some of us maybe sometimes speak in German and that you will still understand it. Yeah. Is there anyone who doesn't speak any German at all? No? Okay. Cool. So you, yeah. So, hello. I hope everybody's fine. I will start in English now, and yes, it's a beautiful day, so I'm very happy that you're still joining, although the weather's quite warm. My name is Pamela Owusu-Brenyah. I'm a curator, at the moment, curator of Pop Culture Festival, which takes place always in August in Berlin at Kulturbrauerei, and an organizer. My work mostly centers around the visibility of African, I would say, contemporary music, but also culture here in Berlin and in Germany. And I'm also part of the of Music Women Germany, which is a platform that wants to give a platform to flinter people in the music industry. And yes, I welcome you to our wonderful panel, Recognizing Visibility. And this panel is part of a Diskurs program of the 6th Jazz Week Berlin, which is held from today, I think the next 7 days. And I think at the beginning it's important to speak a little bit about recognizable visibility or recognizing visibility. What does it mean? When we discuss recognizing visibility in jazz and in improvised music, we are talking about how artists or groups are seen, acknowledged, and valued in a public space or public and cultural space. In Berlin, in this particular context, we want to shed light on the extent to which women, but also underrepresented groups such as LGBTQ, but also post-migrant groups and disabled people are visible in the Berliner scene, jazz, and in the improvised scene. And therefore, this panel will, of course, touch on concepts or topics of visibility, of recognition. And I'm very happy to have my panelists here with me together who have done great work in Berlin, but also outside of Berlin, in, for example, Kassel, around these topics. And I would love to introduce, we start with Ketan Bhatti, who is a composer, Bhatti, that's correct, composer, drummer, music producer, and you operate in the border between what I understood, electronic music, but also popular music, but also back in the days, hip-hop. Then we have Dr. Johanna Schaffer. She's a professor of theory and practice of visual communication an der Kunsthochschule Kassel, who wrote a beautiful book, Ambivalenz der Sichtbarkeit, Ambivalences of Visibility. And then we have Maria Reich, who's a composer. I think you play the violin, and you're a singer?
A bit, yes.
A bit, okay. A composer, and you're working in the future or already a little bit on a project that calls Care Works. Yeah. And then we have Laura Robles, who is a musician in jazz, but also at the intersection of traditional sounds. And you're also a songwriter yourself, who we saw yesterday performing here at the opening event. I mean, for you, a very quick question. You can only answer this with yes or no. In your eyes, is visibility important and a suitable political concept to promote diversity and equity, and also, to achieve? Yes and no. We start here.
Yes. Yes.
Is it too?
Sí. La pregunta es si el concepto de visibilidad te parece útil, sí o no.
Sí. I really hate binaries. So excuse me, I'm not gonna answer this question. It's both and neither and all of it and much more.
Yes. I mean, I thought I would get something like this, which is great. So don't worry. And yes, now I would love you to introduce yourself to the audience, especially also like really talk about the works that you've done in the past and I mean at present. Like maybe introduce, who wants to start? Yourself.
Okay, I just start.
Sorry. Okay, I think some of you know me. I'm a violinist. I have a jazz background. I studied jazz. I also have a cultural science background. That's what I studied before. And at the moment, I'm new to the field of motherhood because I have a baby since 3 months. And so I have a bit of a time off, but also released a solo album which is called Interdependenzen, which came out this month. And I will work on a project funded by the Senate this year called Care Works, which is about care work and researching this field and putting it into music. Yeah, that's what I do at the moment.
Thank you.
Can I just ask, because you said German is easier for you, right?
Ja, manchmal.
Manchmal. Aha, also ich wollte nur daran erinnern, dass Deutsch auch geht. Und alle, die ins Englische eine Übersetzung wollen, sagt das einfach.
Use your mic.
If you want, the mic is for the Aufnahme, I think. If you want us to switch into English again, please say so. I mean, let's have at least 2 languages present, if not 3.
Okay, hi, also nochmal, ich bin Ketan Bhatti. Genau, ich bin in erster Linie Komponist und arbeite in verschiedenen Bereichen. Vor allem, sage ich mal, ist mein Schwerpunkt immer so die Grenzbereiche zwischen verschiedenen Musiktraditionen, verschiedenen Disziplinen, verschiedenen Genres. Und vor 11 Jahren habe ich zusammen mit Simin Samavati das Trickster Orchestra gegründet. Und da geht es eben explizit um die Frage, wie eigentlich eine zeitgenössische Musiksprache aussehen könnte oder klingen könnte, nicht aussehen könnte. Und die eben auch der Diversität der Gesellschaft gerecht wird, also die sich dort auch widerspiegeln lässt. Und das ist entstanden damals, weil wir irgendwie das Gefühl hatten, dass vor allem da, wo verschiedene Musiktraditionen miteinander in Interaktion treten, das meistens in einem sehr klischeeartigen, oberflächlichen und auch, sage ich mal, exotisierenden Ästhetik eigentlich meistens stattfindet. Und da war wirklich unsere Frage, wie klingt wirklich eine Musik, die diese ganzen verschiedenen Musiktraditionen, die wir hier in Berlin vor allem, weil wir hier, ich seit 22 Jahren ungefähr lebe, vorfinden, wie die sich zusammen in eine gemeinsame Musiksprache verwandeln können. Und wie also eben so ein Austausch auf Augenhöhe aussehen und anhören sich könnte. Und da haben wir eben seit 11 Jahren ziemlich viel dran gearbeitet und dabei dann auch eben viele, sage ich mal, Hürden plötzlich erlebt, die dann quasi, sage ich mal, zu so einer Art von Politisierung geführt haben, dass wir gemerkt haben, okay, es gibt hier bestimmte Dinge oder bestimmte Obstacles, also Hürden, an denen wir irgendwie plötzlich nicht scheitern, aber mit denen wir plötzlich zu tun haben, wo wir das Gefühl hatten, andere haben damit nichts zu tun. Und womit hängt das zusammen? Und wir hatten oft das Gefühl, das hängt eben damit zusammen, welche Instrumente in unserem Orchester gespielt werden, welche Sprachen in unserem Orchester gesungen werden. Und das hat quasi immer mehr dazu geführt, dass wir das auch, sage ich mal, thematisiert haben, auf jeden Fall, sage ich mal, so in der Meta-Arbeit. Und da ich auch schon seit über 20 Jahren viel Theatermusik mache und dort eben ganz viel in dem sogenannten postmigrantischen Theater, sage ich mal, unterwegs bin und in dem ich halt, sage ich mal, diesen ganzen Diskurs mitbekommen habe oder, sage ich mal, von Anfang an dabei war und das Gefühl hatte, okay, wir sind da irgendwie 20 Jahre hinterher mit der Musik. Also das alles, was im Theater in den 90ern schon irgendwie für Entwicklung angenommen hat, dass wir zum Beispiel alleine jetzt hier in Berlin seit 11 Jahren das Maxim-Gorki-Theater haben oder auch schon länger das Ballhaus, Nauninstraße, das sind alles Dinge, die es als Pendant eigentlich in der Musik nicht gibt. Und das sind so Dinge, wo ich immer wieder merke oder wir immer wieder merken, aha, was ist eigentlich, woran liegt das, was bedeutet das, was hat das für Implikationen, wie können wir quasi, oder heißt das, dass wir eigentlich noch für mehr Gerechtigkeit sorgen müssen und wie sieht das aus? Und das hat natürlich, glaube ich, ganz viel mit Visibility vielleicht zu tun, wobei ich noch sehr gespannt bin, was wir eigentlich mit diesem Begriff meinen. Ich glaube, das wird noch, da wird es, glaube ich, unterschiedliche Schwerpunkte geben, aber vielleicht soweit erstmal.
Dankeschön.
Wir haben doch einen Gast, der kein Deutsch kann. Deshalb
Okay.
wieder zurückswitchen zu Englisch.
Alright.
Okay, great. You could go
Okay.
Entonces me traduces.
Aber genau. You.
So, ich rede Spanisch und er antwortet auf Englisch und dann ist gut, ja? Super. Okay, soll ich mit Mikrofon?
Ja.
Ok, gracias Matías. Bueno, mi nombre es Laura Robles, vivo acá hace 12 años.
My name is Laura Robles and I live here 12 years.
Me dedico no solo a tocar instrumentos de percusión y bajo y componer, sino también a la búsqueda de diferentes sistemas de escritura o diferentes sistemas de cómo podemos explicar ritmos tradicionales a personas, ¿cómo se dice? Que no vienen de la tradición, exacto.
I not only play percussion instruments and bass, I also work in developing new forms of writing and representation of traditional music, especially so I can be understood by people who don't come from traditional contexts.
Vine a Alemania para investigar el groove alemán y hay gente que se ríe de esa investigación, pero básicamente estoy fascinada con el cómo escuchan las personas en Alemania los ritmos.
And I came to Germany to study the German groove and to...
Yes.
There is a German groove.
Yes, of course.
And I'm fascinated by how people in Germany hear traditional music, how they understand it.
Okay, that's fine.
So I'm a scholar of visual culture who has had a training in art history, meaning I don't have any relations to the musical field, professional relations at all. I think I've been invited because I wrote my PhD a long time ago on the concept and the term of visibility. 12 years, I've lived my entire grown-up life in Vienna in Austria with interruptions. 12 years ago, I got this professorship in Kassel. Kassel might ring a bell to some documenta discussions. So I got this position, I moved, and I became a teacher, primarily. So I primarily have been teaching, and I became a functionary of an institution, meaning a lot of my lifetime energy really goes into an effort with many other people to transform this particular institution according to, let's say, social justice criteria. That means I have almost no time for being a scholar. I've had, and I really want to go back at some point. I mean, I guess many of you might know this feeling. I'm also telling you because that places me at this point in time in a field of social practice that is really under enormous pressure, maybe, that is feeling what I would call a really repressive political dynamics very strongly, academia, and particularly maybe even so in Kassel. I'm not sure. Berlin is, I think, even more a hotspot. Maybe that's enough for the time being.
Maybe I also would love to know from the room, in what disciplines are you, for example, jazz musicians, or from the field of music, or are you more people present who are just music lovers, jazz lovers, or just to have an idea what kind of people are also here attending the room? Or scholars? Any scholars here? No. Musicians? Okay, good. Okay, good. And music lovers also. Okay, because I think I need you again. I was first thinking of explaining, coming to the concept of visibility, but knowing there is someone in the room who wrote a PhD about visibility is not a good feeling. So I would love to give you the mic again. And I would love you to just briefly say, what does visibility mean? And also, I would love to know, you wrote this book a few years back in 2008, I think. I would also like to know, why were you interested in that topic? Why did you choose the topic visibility? And yeah.
Pamela only told me 10 minutes ago that she's gonna ask me for definitions. I also hate definitions, or maybe the other way around. I like problematizing the wish to have someone define something. But for the sake of cutting things short, I will just say that visibility, as we, I think right now, might be using and understanding it according to what Jazzwoche Berlin also gave us, is a metaphor, of course. It's a metaphor that stands for, let's say, social presence, also what is called in English Durchsetzungsvermögen, gesellschaftliches Durchsetzungsvermögen, eine bestimmte Art von Macht. And there's an interesting relation to recognition, as a political recognition, but also simply as Wahrnehmung and political power. Maybe also keep in mind that there might be a problem with the fact that it is a metaphor connected to visual sense. There might be a problem in a context that is called Jazzwoche Berlin. In a situation where we live in a social context that really predominantly emphasizes vision, there's also a question with regard to ableism, because visibility is so positively connoted, and what does that mean for people who use different senses and not the sense of vision? Anyhow, why did I choose to write that book in 2000, publish the book and write my PhD on it? I was a political activist for a long while, and I was interested in the fact that in the 1990s and beginnings of the 2000s, it was a super strong political metaphor. And that irked me, that really disturbed me, because what it meant is that I come from aesthetics. I really, I think this is a common ground here, truly believe and insist on the political and reality, how can I say this? The absolute foundational dimension of poetics and aesthetics. It really orders or enables reality. And I really was disturbed by the fact that all my political comrades thought that's, I don't know, unwichtig, that's even corrupt to think too much about aesthetics, while I was constantly saying, it's really foundational. It's not visibility is always connected to a specific form. Can we talk about form? So that was the impulse. Okay. Academics also talk too much.
Don't worry. I think it's important to, also for the audience to...
Zentrum der politischen Schönheit.
Zentrum der politischen Schönheit. Okay, this I don't know. So thank you for the introduction. Now I would love to know from, you've heard what Johanna said. I would love to know from you a little bit more. Now I see most of the people in this room are actually from the jazz scene or are musicians, but still, I would love to know, how would you say is the current situation of visibility of underrepresented groups in the jazz scene and in the improvised scene? And yeah, maybe you could also give, what do you think is the current state of mind? That's also for the people who are not so much into, or maybe just musicians and don't know so much about it. Who would like to start?
I can try. But I would say maybe first that now if I'm saying something that sounds like complaining, of course we have to recognize that things are better than maybe 20 years ago. But still there's so many things that we have to talk about and about the current state. So So I just wanted to warn you that maybe it sounds a little bit harsh sometimes. And I would also say, I don't know if I use the term correctly if I am now talking about the visibility, because as I used to use the term, it actually I only mean by saying visibility in terms of let's say, can every band participate? Is everyone in the position to play a concert, for instance, study, get some kind of job as a teacher, as a professor, as whatever in that music field? And how do they earn their money, and how much hustle do they have to go through? And maybe vermenge da ein paar Sachen, die vielleicht nicht zusammengehören. But that's what I'm concerned about. So I thought maybe there may be some links, and maybe you can also help me to, das Chaos zu entwirren. And I would say, well, what I can say is then when we started 2013 with the Trickster Orchestra, we made the experience that we were really like, we didn't get any funding at all. Like we were a group of people, everyone had studied something. We had musicians from, they were all professional musicians from different music traditions. Some were playing at the Berlin Philharmonic, some were famous jazz musicians or so-called Neue Musik musicians, or even non-European music traditions. And also they are even maybe famous in other countries already. Some people came also from other countries, also some refugees. But everyone was, like I would say, like master in their field of the instrument they were playing or the tradition that they were referring to. And since we were trying to make this, what I said, this kind of a contemporary music language, we were sent to different funding pots, like the jazz funding pot was saying, you have a ney flute, and you also like this is you have a canoon, you have so many non-European instruments, and this is not jazz. Maybe you go to the contemporary music pot, and then we go to the contemporary music pot, because this is the structure as until now. Maybe this is changing also, but that we have a jazz funding and a Neue Musik funding. And the Neue Musik was saying, you are improvising, and you have instruments ney and canoon, so this is not contemporary music. So maybe you go to the intercultural pot, the pot where the funding, where the projects that are some kind of intercultural. And so we went there, and we got some money, and we could do some projects, or we could actually do one project a year. This was the start. And things have changed. That was like 2013. Like 10, 11 years ago. And even before that, I was playing in a jazz band called Siminology, and the singer, this was also Simi Samawati, the person that I founded the Trickster Orchestra with. And actually the only thing was she was singing in Farsi, and her parents are from Iran, and my father's from India. That was maybe the only reason, maybe, I don't even know, but we were labeled as ethnic jazz. And actually the music had nothing to do with, but it was very European ECM style jazz music with lyrics in Farsi. So, but anyhow, we were labeled as ethnic jazz. She won a World Music Award later, and we had never any concert in the world music scene because they said this is not world music. I mean, we can talk about this term anyhow because it's a very difficult term, I think. But anyhow, so what happened was that over the years, we played one concert a year, and then after some years, we actually were almost about to give up because it was not enough. There was no money for such a project. And then one funding happened, and then another one, and then there was a discourse going on suddenly in the feuilletons about decolonizing the contemporary music. When was this? This was like 2018. And suddenly we were the experts. And I've never talked about anything before that time because, I mean, I was doing it, I was always politically interested in the theater world. We were always talking about all those topics, but in the music field, we were starting with a very clear interest in how does a koto sound and a trombone when they play together? This was the question that we had in mind. And how does it sound if they don't just, like meet on the smallest common ground, where maybe the European trained classical musician plays the bordun, the basic note, and the Arabic traditional trained musician plays their scala. We wanted to try out what happens if they really develop something together. And we came up with different methods, with different tools. Like one of the main tools that I always like is this mimetic processes, where it's about to actually imitate the other person, but not in terms of like nachäffen, but more in terms of transformation. You really listen to the other person, but you really try to become the other person, which is not possible. And in that process, actually something very, very interesting is happening. You really transform, you develop new new ways of playing your instruments and so on. And if everyone is doing this in the room, that's the interesting part for us.
Was it easy for you to find other musicians who could join or who wanted to join?
No, it was not easy, but it was also not too difficult, because we had to find people who were, on the one hand, very, very, trained in their field, and on the other hand, very open-minded. And in every field, you find people who are, if they are masters in on their field, there are people who are very, like this. I do it like this, and I did it always like this, and I will never do it a different way. And there are people who are like this, and like really focused. But I want to learn all day long. I want, how do you do that? And we had to find all those people who are really, really masters on their field, but also so open-minded and had no problem in not being the star, because we were really a lot of people. But what happened then was, to come to the end there, sorry for my long sentence here, was that suddenly we got funding, we could develop some programs. And after we had, we couldn't be part of the jazz scene, we couldn't be part of a contemporary music scene, we suddenly then won a prize in the jazz field. We won this Deutsche Jazzpreis. And in the same year, we won a classical award for classical music, or contemporary classical music. So suddenly we could be both. But still, when we see, okay, where can we play? Where do our concerts take place? What stages, what context? It's changing, it's getting better and better. We're playing in the Jazz Fest. We have, so we can be part of the jazz scene somehow. But also, and we're playing on contemporary music festivals also, but every time we have to explain why, actually, to some people, to a lot of people, and especially to the funding. And so there are a lot of, I would say, Grabenkämpfe, and you see these fights. They are also without, not us putting into the ring, or wie sagt man, in den Ring reintun. There will be there are these fights because everyone wants a piece of the cake. We have a structural problem there with the free scene, that that there's a certain amount of money, and the Neue Musik scene needs money, and the jazz scene needs money, and everyone is not getting enough. And there's a lot of institutions, theaters, concert halls that getting a lot of money, and they're playing a very conservative program, and the freie scene, who's trying actually to be avant-garde, is getting much less money. So there's already a fight, and now let's say a new community comes into the game. I mean, that's always the story, more people want to participate. We're getting more diverse in our society. We are a post-migrant society. So suddenly there's all this group of people who actually also want a piece of cake. So where do they get their money from? And until now, there is no real structure for that. So we are we have to ask, for the jazz scene, hey, can we be part of your scene? Because there's no place for us. And the same with the contemporary music scene. And so it's getting better because people are opening the houses, but on the other hand, it's still a fight, and we have to always argue why we are here and why it's important that we have some kind of a place. Maybe I stop here because.
Only one mic. I would love to know from you what challenges did you face, which are specific, you would say, is because of your gender. And now, I don't know how many years ago you started with music. How many years is that ago?
I started when I was 3.
Ah, okay, that's a long time. That's a long time ago. Okay, good. And And you became a mother 3 months ago, no? I think. Would you say there? I mean, not would you say? I'm pretty sure there are now other challenges on top to that, being a mother in the scene. I mean, it's not only in jazz and not only in the improvised scene. I think it's in most all music fields. But could you maybe tell the audience a little bit, in general, what kind of hurdles did you face during the time you making music? But now even specific, since your mother, what have
Thank you. Okay, I mean, concerning my own way, maybe it's mostly about the question of mentorship and education in a way, like finding people that, that are kind of a role model for you and that want to support you. And I mean, I had lots of teachers that did support me very well, also as male teachers, but I really missed that kind of mentor-mentee relationship for a long time with another woman, I would say. And I think it changed after finishing my studies, interestingly. Like after 2019, I finished at Jazz Institute. And and at the institute itself, it was very rare to work with other women teachers. It still is very rare in the academic field of jazz in the whole Germany and beyond. And when I started to leave this institution behind and just do my thing and travel and have concerts and participate in more projects, I found more women that could become something like role models or just female colleagues for me, and it really changed something for me. Like I met people in their 30s and was like, oh, why did I not know about you when I was studying? It's so weird. And then also, like, for example, meeting Simin, I remember that I'm also playing at Trickster Orchestra, and I remember when you played at Jazz Institute, actually, it was like my first year there or something, and Simin conducting, and then another teacher came to me and said, Simin also used to study here, and then she didn't go this usual jazz path. I mean, I'm a violinist. I'm also classically trained. I'm kind of somewhere in between, and he kind of wanted to encourage me via her role model, saying like, and then she founded Trickster Orchestra, and look, and I was really impressed by the group, and it was really something new and interesting for me, and and that was good to see. And later I met her and I participated, I joined the orchestra, and until now she's also kind of stepping into this role for me as a mentor sometimes, like taking me to projects, letting me participate in projects I would normally maybe not participate in, and just placing her trust in my way. And it's somehow, I do think that it's somehow different when I experience this from an older woman. It's still great when another man does it, but for me it was really, at least maybe that, it was new, that I saw another woman who had made her way, taking me with her, like kind of this sisterhood or mentorship situation.
Maybe also learn from her steps, to know like these are the steps that steps, and learn from her steps. Yeah, but maybe continue.
Yeah, totally, and also like seeing what has become normal for her in her stage of way, and being able to project myself onto this in a way. Yeah. So mentorship or education, I think, is one part, and then motherhood. Okay, I mean, I'm very new to the game, but of course, I think as a young woman, if you're interested in having children one day, it is something you start. It becomes very obvious after a very short time that it's not going to be very easy in this field. First of all, because it's all very insecure, of course, but also because of the structures connected to funding in terms of care work, for example. In terms of having a partner who stays at home when I go and have a panel and blah. I really thought, like from my point of view, I think I've been thinking about this step like very long and very intensely before doing it.
And would you say in the jazz or in the community that like a lot of women would maybe also decide not to get children because
Yes,
they know
of
like
course.
what's coming for them?
Yeah, it's the same, like you see very few having children or knowing about it also. Like some also just prefer not to be very visible with it. And it's not just like it's not something you make up or something. It's also in other spaces of the arts. Like I've seen a study recently about the 10 most influential artists, like in the arts, men, and how many children they have, and then an opposite women and
How many children?
many children. And most of the men had more than 3 children. Or at least 3 children, and for the women, like all of these 10 top, whatever, who chose
Either
us.
0 or 1 maybe.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, nobody had more than 1. It had so much, and yeah. And I mean, of course, I'm convinced to follow my career with having 1 and more children, and I really, and I do think, I mean, some things are changing, even that I got funding for my
For
idea of
children care, did you get money, extra money for children care?
No,
Because-
that I didn't mean, but for my compositional project, which focuses on, but that exists too.
that exists for Initiative Musik, for example.
Yes.
For pop.
Yeah.
It's more popular
like
music. but-
Recently, they invented.
And also
it.
jazz, I guess. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's pretty new still to the field.
It's new, I think since last year.
Things are getting better.
Yes. Yeah. No, I lost my. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we go to you, Lara. Now you need. I mean, yes, you're a woman of color. You're a woman of color, and I think you came here alone. You have 1 child, which is 7 or 8?
11.
11 already. Okay, cool. Wow. And you came 12 years ago to Berlin.
Ya. ¿Hablo español entonces?
Ah, okay. I should
Oder-
speak with you German. It's better, no?
No, ist okay. Ist okay.
It's okay.
Oder ich rede Deutsch und jemand hilft der Person, die kein Deutsch redet. Was ist besser?
Like, I think.
I understand Spanish.
Ah, really? Yeah, we need the English trend. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't understand Spanish.
Sé español. Okay.
So I would love to know what challenges did you face to come to Germany to learn the German groove?
Cuando
12 years ago, no?
sí, hace 12 años vine y fue horrible.
I came 12 years ago and it was horrible.
Llegué inicios de enero y inicios de marzo me enteré que estaba embarazada.
I came in the beginning of January and in the beginning of March I learned that I was pregnant.
Estaba en gira con un grupo de personas de... ¿cuál era? República Checa y no me acuerdo qué otro grupo, pero eran bastante machos y fumaban cigarro y yo tenía que ir en el auto con ellos y me decían que si no quería estar si tenía tanto miedo por mi hijo el cigarro, podría tocar en otros conciertos.
And I was traveling with a group of people from Czech Republic, no, at the time, and they were smoking the car, and they were super macho, and they were saying that if I don't like the smell of cigarette, I maybe should just don't play this concert.
Entonces, mis inicios en Alemania no fueron tampoco tan fáciles y cuando vine acá estaba, así como ahora está todo el tema de la visualización, estaba el tema de la inclusión.
So when I came to Germany,
Cuando llegué a Alemania,
so when I came to Germany, there was this whole issue of inclusivity, and now there is this issue of visibility.
Y para mí, sabía que estaba muy bien empezar a hablar sobre la inclusión porque era como un paso hacia adelante de decir, ok, tiene que haber espacio para más gente, pero al mismo tiempo se transformó en una exclusión porque era saber, tú no eres esto.
So, so I knew it was very important to talk about inclusion in the beginning because it was a way forward and to open spaces. But I also realized that very early that it was also an exclusion because now people marking people as different, no?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah.
To mark people.
¿no?
¿No?
Entonces,
A ver, ¿quieres repetir otro?
sí, o sea, todas las personas que no son estos los que tienen el poder, los que tienen el poder deciden, ok, tú y tú, el marrón, el chino, el chato, pueden estar los otros, ¿no?
Right, so these spaces of inclusivity also mark people as different, no? So if you are different from whatever norm, then you can fit in this inclusivity space.
Entonces, obviamente tenía que hacer uso de este nuevo espacio porque tenía que entrar de alguna forma, pero sabiendo que me causaba molestia, ¿no?
So I used this because I knew that this was one way for me to enter. I used this platform. This was a way for me to come in, but at the same time I was feeling bad about it. I was feeling uncomfortable, no?
Siempre he sentido que por más de que cuando uno viene de un país pobre, estos temas no son temas.
So when it comes from a poor country, these kind of problems are not really problems.
La gente piensa diferente. Hay otras problemáticas.
There are other more urgent problems.
En general, lo que siento en Alemania como músico extranjero o como persona en extranjero es que hay una especie de línea en donde si uno logra ser lo suficientemente blanco o lo suficientemente parecido a lo que hay acá, empieza a ser visible.
So I feel like here in Germany, in places like Germany, there is a line, and if you somehow manage to go over the line by making yourself seem whiter or closer to whatever whiteness is above the line, then you have a better chance. And if you don't, then you stay below.
Can I ask one question? Did you study jazz in
No.
Peru? Okay.
En Perú no habían escuelas de música cuando yo estudiaba.
There were no music schools, no contemporary, no jazz music schools in Peru when I was growing up.
Había que tomar la decisión o si tenías suficiente dinero, tener clases particulares, o si tenías mucho dinero, irte a estudiar a otro país.
So if you had money, you could take private lessons, or if you had a lot of money, you could go abroad.
La decisión del común es tocar música popular o tradicional y quedarse ahí, ¿no?
And most people decide to play traditional or popular music and stay there.
En el tema de la visibilidad, que para mí está muy cerca a lo de la inclusión, sí siento que es un punto importante, porque otra vez es un movimiento de una cantidad de personas que dice tenemos que activarnos, tenemos que hacer algo para que todos tengamos un espacio.
So I feel with this idea of visibility that is again a step forward, and it's a way for people to get together around a certain metaphor maybe and move forward and get together and do things. Pero ¿qué
Perdón.
sigue? ¿Eso es todo?
No. Me distraje con...
No, you can finish and then he can.
Pero obviamente otra vez siento que tengo que hacer uso de esta situación porque siempre soy parte de la gran minoría que tengo que agarrarme de todos los puntos que existen para poder salir adelante, ¿no?
But once again, I feel like this issue is a way for me. I need to use this platform and to use this issue to, again, open space for myself. But it's because I am seen as this part of this minority or whatever that needs this sort of openings to be able to move forward.
You had a Zwischenfrage.
No, it's just really interesting because it's kind of gives good examples of this dilemma of that we're facing with this situation. That on the one hand, it's a little bit also like this Integrationsparadox von was Aladdin Mafalani, glaube ich, ne? Hilft mir, falls ich den Namen Mafalani schreibt. But the first thing that you were saying was, on the one hand, there's this marking, right? And we were also talking about this tokenization, you know,
yeah.
that on the one hand we think, okay, this is a good thing that we at least have now a place. Okay, now
we sit at the table.
Yeah, we sit at the table, but we sit at the table with this marking. And so this is a dilemma that where really I feel like I don't have a solution for that. In the theater, we have, I can give you a good example. We have a lot of times, I told you this, the situation, we do a play, and because we are in a society and we want to do contemporary plays with contemporary topics, we want to talk about, for instance, racism in our society. So we make a play about racism. So now you go to a theater and the whole cast is white. So what do? Can we make a play with the whole white cast talking about racism? It's a little bit weird. So let's ask some POC actors who are not in the cast to play. Then we call them. Then they say, so now you call me when we have to talk about racism. But why don't anyone call me when I want to play Romeo and Juliet? You know. So and you have exactly this dilemma of, okay, what do? I can't just let a bunch of white people talk about racism without any kind of connection to the topic. Maybe. I mean, we can also talk about it. We can argue about it, definitely. But it's a thing we have to talk about. And on the other hand, only asking POC actors or musicians or panelists to come to a panel when it's about their
Topics.
kind of vermeintliche topic, it's also a problem. And I feel like we have to, anytime I'm encountering this dilemma, I feel like I have to reconsider and think, okay, how is this situation, and so on and so on. But it's definitely something where, and the other thing, sorry, that I wanted to also mention is, because you were talking about this kind of a line, and I would call it like a glass ceiling, where I feel like, I mean, we are definitely already in a very privileged situation here in Germany. If we compare this to any other country where we can do, like, if you compare it to Iran or whatever, where we can do music. But on the other hand, I feel like, yeah, there's some kind of ceiling. I'm definitely privileged. I can play my music. I can live as a composer. I can work with different groups. It's a definitely privileged situation. But if I compare myself to maybe someone else, he could be. There are some things where I still have to fight for, or to tell them, no, I could also do that.
And you are never sure, is it because you really not maybe good enough to reach over the top?
Exactly. We talked about this, that we never sometimes know, is this now racism or is it just maybe anything else? That's the same with sexism, I guess. That you never know, why is this situation with that teacher like this? Is it because I'm a woman? And sometimes it's sexism, sometimes it's racism, but often we don't know. And it's also a dilemma that we
always have to think about,
kind of figure out, or you as a woman have to figure out. This is also some kind of way I say, well, why don't they figure it out?
Yeah.
Laura, please. Yes.
De todas formas, esto que estás hablando, en comparación, todos los temas, ser mujer, ser músico, ser de clase baja, todos los temas aquí son mucho mejores en general, ¿no? Cuando lo comparamos con el 90% de los países y los problemas, ¿no?
So many things are much better here than in other countries in terms of equality, race, socioeconomic class.
Pero yo siento que es el intento de la clase media, es lo que siento. No estoy diciendo que sea una ciencia, que hay como una especie de clase media, porque no es tanto la clase alta, que hace que los que estamos muy abajo no podamos llegar a lo que está arriba, ¿no? Hay como burocracias que hacen que no sea posible como llegar. Crees que estás, pero...
Okay, I'm going to try my best. This is what I feel. It's not a science, but I feel like here in Germany there is a lower class and there's a middle class, and what is preventing the lower class from getting better, accessing better resources, is the middle class, which is somehow blocking, no?
Sí,
access
pero
or...
siento que es el problema universal, no es...
¿De Alemania?
En Alemania está más bajo que en otros países.
Ah, okay.
Sucede.
But this is not just in Germany; it's all over. But you still feel it here in Germany.
Yeah? See? Thank you for your translation. Wow. Otherwise, I wouldn't understand you. Yeah, time is a little bit passing fast, but I think it's always so important to I don't know how often you get the chance to really talk about the things that you experience. So I want you to talk about it and share it. But I think I will first jump to something. I had something in between, but yes. In general, also recognizing visibility. That's also a concept that I would love to talk about. And of course, the first reaction is always yes, absolutely, we need that. But then sometimes I think about my own past, and I'm I remember when I was DJing, visibility is actually the thing why I left DJing, because at some point it didn't really was about the music that I played on. It was promoting yourself outside, looking in a specific way. And I just wanted to play good music and share the good music. And the game around it is the ones that I didn't enjoy. So I would love Johanna. How do you see the whole concept of visibility? I don't know when we were talk about it, you said visibility is not the right political concept. Something like this. I think this was your sentence. And I would love you to talk about it. What did you mean with that?
So maybe firstly, what scholars, theorists, Wissenschaftlerinnen from the humanities, philosophers, their material, their matter really are words. This is what we are trained on. This is so what I do is I chew on a word like visibility and see, well, there's maybe the end of the metaphor of that chewing metaphor, but I'm interested in how was it used, when, and maybe also really where does it lean towards, which is maybe not such a good idea. So I would say visibility as a political and oppositional term really was a term, sorry to say, of the 1990s. In the 2020s, it's really would be my argument, it's lost that political connotation, I would say entirely, and it is now a marketing term. In a context of platformization of capitalism, it is a marketing term. That doesn't mean to go, you can go back and try to reactivate that political energy. You can. I'm not so convinced yet, why would you want to? Why don't you have a term like, for example, anti-racism, Jazzwoche Wien? Why don't you, or even more hot, decolonize, at a moment like this in Berlin. So this is a much more daring move. What I'm saying is, I heard you that for you, visibility is a platform to open something up. So again, it is a venerable political metaphor from the 1990s. One can go back and try to reactivate, but I think one then has to really tie it to very concrete issues, problematizations. Otherwise, it's just really rather empty, or it really leans towards, again, a marketing term, clicks, presence on the internet. That is for me. So it's still unclear, but that would be a question also to the organizers, but maybe also to you, Pamela, because you said you actually use the term and used the term. Now you were saying something else. You were saying you left a particular context because of the problematics around visibility, but I think you also said when we talked for the preparation, you used the term yourself. Why?
I had to think. I had to think about it a little bit more. We talked on Tuesday, so my head was rattern. And then I remembered, I was also had to try, like, what actually does visibility mean? For me, it was always having the chance to maybe speak somewhere, having the chance to perform somewhere. Being in rooms that you usually couldn't enter before, like that's also kind of visibility. And I remember also, I mean, I worked for a label and some of the decisions were not really as I wished them to be, and I was almost about to quit. And then someone said, sometimes you need to be in the room to change the room, or, you know? So also, I mean, I'm sitting here on panels, I do moderation, but always when I'm asked, I don't really sometimes enjoy being on these panels, but it's just something inside of me, because sometimes also like younger black girls or kids come to me and say like they have never seen someone like you know, sitting there saying that, you know. And I remember, I mean, I have to say my former boss was Joe Scialo, and so I worked with him in the label, and he also, it was interesting to work the first time in my life with someone who looked like me, and in this office there were problems that I never faced because the boss was black. So, you know, it's also an obligation somehow to be sometimes visible to the people outside, although you maybe don't enjoy being visible. And I would love to say something. I mean, I'm the moderator, but I'm also talking. It's okay. I don't want to take your space. I was also thinking about what you were saying before. And then I remembered back to the time when social media wasn't there, for example, for people in Africa. And it's specific, like the case of African music, African contemporary music. There were always people from the Western world who went to Ghana, who went to other countries, came back to Germany or came back to the European world and said, who is good, who is in, what kind of music we hear, what we play. And since we have, or Africans have, an iPhone, no, not iPhone, have a phone, can tell their own stories, spread their own visuals, tell their own narratives, so many things have changed. So this kind of visibility has brought so much to the African continent. In the past years, I mean, we see that Burna Boy has sold out like O2 arenas. We see #1 hits, one of the most streamed hits of Rima. This would have never had happened if we would not have all these visibility. So I think maybe from some perspective, I understand that we can say visibility, is it the right term, the right political term to achieve that? But for some people, it is actually. But then now, like, what are we? Where are we going to? You know, I mean, as we can see that, I feel like now it's all about visibility. It's only about clicks. It's not so much more sometimes about the content. But yeah, this is just maybe a point where, like, I do agree, but in some certain things, I feel like, is this something that we can say because we live here? For us, it's easy to have a job, you know, to find this and that. What are people in the African continent thinking about this concept of visibility? Just a few remarks of mine.
Yeah, I was wondering if you are talking, if the critique that you have, that I hope I understand it and it sounds good, but is it mainly actually the marketing aspect of it? Because or could you help me to understand what is exactly, because visibility is actually a term I never used, for instance, until now. We were actually, in the Twix Orchestra, we always talking about decolonization. But when we use that word, we also try to actually break it down to a very, let's say, easy to understand sentence, breaking down the hierarchy to try to work on an I&I level. How can we work on an I level? What are the situations of power? Who is in power? Who has more power? Why? And how can we break this down so that we can work eye to eye? And why? And this comes even down to the situation when we come to a rehearsal and we have people who have a job at the Berlin Philharmonics, so they have a regular income. What does this make with the situation that some people are safe in this room with their income and others, that's the only thing that they will earn on that day? All these different areas of where there are hierarchies in terms of wealth also, and in terms of being able to participate on the stages and so in the society. Is this, where is the border to the topic that you are actually touching with the term visibility or the critique of visibility? Because for me it sounded like you're touching where it comes how you say, an empty thing about marketing, tokenization, capitalization. I mean, everything is in the capitalist system, so that's already a problem. But maybe you can specify where does it shift? Or do you understand what
I hope I do. I mean, I answered. No, I think but like, let me just maybe to both of you say, I'm really only chewing on the term. And I really do think it's a useless term.
Sorry, Jazzwoche, Berlin.
No. I mean, you invited me to say this. No. I was cast. It's clear. I was cast this way. I mean, they know my work, so I'm here to be this.
And you're here to speak freely.
Yeah. So I do the killjoy. I mean, this particular. So I mean, it's really about the word. It's not about the processes and facts you are describing. Not at all.
Okay.
So the question is, how about using hierarchy, or actually using decolonization, or using what else? Domination, Herrschaft, whatever. Because I mean, for me, the visibility really is a rather flat. It's abgegriffen. Es ist sehr abgegriffen.
It can be everything.
What is abgegriffen in English? It's really, like a stone that is now soft and nice, and you want it to be soft and nice, but if you want it edgy, you need another word. That is what I'm saying. Yeah. So I mean, if you really, you need to be more, maybe also more courageous. If you want the edges, if you don't want the edges, but want an umbrella, maybe an umbrella that invites questions that you haven't specified yet, which for me as an organizer would also make sense. Maybe that's a good term. I like the edginess, and I think we really need more conversation on really edgy issues. And for me, I don't get there.
But I felt like that you're even saying more. That you're even saying you're not. I felt like you were not only saying the word is not radical enough. I felt like you were saying there's actually even a problem with the word, like in sense of like the marketing aspects and the aspect of that it's actually only about the looks, and the looks are not.
No, that is not like the looks. Nothing wrong with looks. No. You're right. I'm saying that it actually prevents us to think certain things. Visibility always, like it diffracts, it reflects, it turns away attention from processes. Mm-hmm. It turns away attention from relationality, because visibilization, to make something visible, always means you make something else invisible. You have to think about that. So all of that, it prevents us to think about forms, aesthetics, stereotypes. So I'm saying for my, but I'm not a festival organizer, I'm like, I want to drive things home. For my interests, it's not usual, because it deflects attention away from the questions that I want to put into the center. And relationality, processes. I think a lot of things already change when you talk about visibilization, but that's a very sandy term. Do you want to talk about invisibilization? And
Okay. Para mí es muchísimo de las cosas que hacemos y que vemos se relacionan con el marketing.
A lot of things that we do have to do with marketing.
Siento que en general marketing como punto en nuestra historia no es algo positivo, pero es algo que sí puede funcionar también para ciertas personas.
And I feel like in the whole history of us, marketing is not a good thing, but it allows some people in some circumstances to do some things.
Entonces, ahora si hablamos de visibilidad, ¿no? Yo, Laura, me invitan a este festival Visibilidad, estoy en esa cámara, salgo en la radio, toco, voy a tener más posibilidades en este país, por lo menos, de hacer algo que si no existiera esto que se llama visibilidad, en donde me vuelve visible, ¿no?
Okay. So me as Laura Robles, there's this festival and there's this word visibility. So I get invited and I get put in front of the cameras and I get put in this panel. So this opens up and I go into the radio and I play a concert. And so this opens up a space for me.
Entonces, para mí hay palabras y definiciones que funcionan para ciertas personas. Si yo fuese blanca de Suiza que hubiese ido a una universidad, tendría un trabajo.
So these words work for some people in some circumstances. For example, me, if I was white, if I was from Switzerland and I had a university degree, I would probably have a job.
Pero no lo soy. Entonces necesito que se formen espacios en donde digan, mira, ellas existen y podamos existir, porque somos igual de buenas que otro tipo de personas, pero necesitamos que aparezca eso. Si es de marketing, si la palabra es bonita o fea, porque es lo que necesitamos. Si estuviésemos hablando de decolonización, muchas personas cierran la puerta porque es como negativo. Yo no soy racista, yo no soy nada, yo no quiero ir.
Okay.
Perdón.
So, okay. So this opens the door for me, this concept, and if me he olvidado una pedacito, ya, perdón. But if maybe the word was decolonization, maybe in terms of marketing, they would close off for some people because they would be too offended or like too shocked, and they would say, "I'm not a racist, so I have nothing to do with this." So for me, this kind of strategy maybe works. Is that the idea? Okay.
And I also think the word visibility, I mean, when we talk about decolonization, all these words are still also a lot of terms that are from the academic terms, or people on the street. I mean, we also have to think of people maybe who are not as educated. For them, visibility is maybe also easier to understand than all these terms that you have used before. I don't know, you also said something what we could use. So it's a very, for some people, it's too easy, and for some, how can I say that? And for some people, it's maybe exactly what they can understand. Accessible, exactly. So it's also something.
And then I was wondering about the topic that you were also saying about this. I mean, because I think maybe it's really just a way of how we use it, you know, that you're using it in an academic way. And of course, that's your job. So that's you're supposed to. But like I said, I look at the word visibility and I actually only see my topics running around, and I don't care if they call it decolonization or if they call it participation, or if they, you know, sometimes I have a problem when people talk about integration, because then I feel like, okay, this is something, okay, there maybe is my personal, how you say, you know, border. But even then I'd say, okay, well, at least they want something to change. Maybe they have some problems and they don't know it, and maybe we can talk about it. And maybe the same now with visibility. Okay, at least they somehow care about something.
Some topics exactly that have not been
with injustice and society and how to overcome specific parts of
open rooms
sexism,
for people
racism.
who have not been
Exactly. And the word is not the right one, but then I'm more like with the tokenization, I don't care. At least I can have the opportunity to speak about it or to do something. And then, but what I was saying is, but on the topic of when you say, and also you said it,
Laura.
Laura, and then also you said it about seeing someone that is somehow familiar, like a woman maybe, or someone with black color skin in a job position that I have never seen someone before make something. So maybe that is a part of the visibility concept that maybe is useful, or I don't know, I'm asking more.
No, I was just yesterday. I was thinking about what's this all this visibility about, and and no, but like I listened to a radio feature, and it was also about it was about visibility in some way, and motherhood and the arts and blah blah, and I was really annoyed by the art that was portrayed, and I was like, that's also not what I'm interested in. And then I was, okay, so what's it all about for me? And then I came also from this other side that I thought, okay, I just don't want certain people under certain circumstances to become invisible in a way. And this is what happens to, for example, artists that like mothers and artists that that don't have a system to compensate for the care work, that don't have a partner that supports what they do, and stuff like this. And I'm not interested in all the art produced by mothers. But I'm interested in some artists that also become mothers, and I don't want them to disappear.
And I guess you're interested in that the society changes in a way that more people and more women are, how you say, encouraged in having the possibilities in doing both. You know, like I guess.
Being a mother.
And It's really not about encouragement because it's about the system, and it's
what I mean, the
Yeah.
system changes. So
Yeah, no,
people
totally.
See, the system has changed maybe, but I haven't seen it yet.
yeah, they see it's possible, and yeah.
Johanna? Otherwise, I
She
would-
looks very
I mean,
she looks
I-
very skeptical.
Somehow also, like, if it's possible, first to let the, I mean, we have not so much time, and I would also love for open the room first for questions shortly, and maybe also if you would like, as the organizers, to say something why you choose the word visibility. No, why you choose the term visibilities, and yeah, I mean, just an invitation. You don't have to, but I think it would be nice.
Yes, I'll try to say something. I mean, I'm kind of new to the team, so actually the term was already coined when I joined the team, but of course I know a bit about it. So it was going more in the direction that you said. Secondly, so it's more we used it for this festival to have an umbrella term. Because we're not only talking about the topics that you were referring to with visibility, but also, for example, the visibility of jazz music in German media right now because of the Rundfunkreform, so the reforming of the broadcasting services. So yeah, it was more like an umbrella term. But yeah, thank you very much for discussing so thoroughly about the topic. It's interesting that it sparks a.
I understood
discussion.
that yesterday because also when I saw visibilities and I saw my panel, I was invited to. But then I was like, when I heard this was like the panel from yesterday, I also understood that you want to make some of the problems visible that the jazz scene at the moment faces, and that's why you also want to open the room for. But yes.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for all of you, for this very controversial but very productive, active discussion. I was one of the people choosing this term, and it was exactly about this, trying to start a process where we can chew on a term, on a process where we have exactly what is happening right now. Getting controversial discussions, talking about, okay, what does it mean to us on all the different aspects that all of you just mentioned, as well as saying, okay, it is a productive term. For me, it is opening something. Your position saying more, okay, maybe it's more closing something, or maybe you should use something more powerful. We had the same reaction yesterday from one person on the panel saying you need to be more sharp, more strong, louder. Yeah, maybe next time. Yeah, and this is what I just am very appreciating right now, that we right now it happened exactly what we wanted, that we discuss this term, this process, in a very, very varied ways of perspectives. So thank you all.
There were more hands, I know.
Yeah, maybe just to add a bit, because I feel the need to also explain the term maybe a bit. But also, I mean, I totally agree with Johanna actually on what you said. And I found it very interesting because actually Jazzwoche is a marketing week for jazz. So yeah, it is what it is, and we try to show Berlin that jazz and improvised music is great, and that people should go and watch concerts and everything. So I think it's a good way to target some groups that are on a different. Yeah, who are also having different conversations, because in our scene we still have to kind of convince people that there are actually some groups not visible, and there are many people who say, well, I don't see a problem. I think everything's fine and everyone's welcome in jazz and everyone can join if they want, and we are still working on trying to explain where it's actually not the case. And so I think that was also one thinking we had in mind choosing I think, yeah, kind of term that's already where everything's said and done, maybe, for it, but where people can kind of realize, maybe not everything is visible, and why not? And for a start to think about why.
Then there was here was like hands. I saw someone here in this corner. You're not anymore?
I think Johanna is right in saying that this is not a very strong expression. And if it's about fighting, you might be a little bit louder against politics, the people who build up society and who form things and who are having the money to push things, and jazz is lacking support. So that's why you always could think visibility is a weak term, but I think when you're on a level of language discuss this, you might even have people who don't talk to you if you're choosing strong words. So it's always a question of tactics. And I think it's good to have an open expression to find better words and better actions, and then you can move on. So I think we're just on a level of building something up. And I think the Jazzwoche it's the 6th edition, so we can go further. Okay?
Are you also from the team?
I'm doing the publicity, but
okay.
well, political person. For me, there is a lot of political expression in this Jazzwoche and so on.
Okay, I think, yeah, okay, Johanna und dann Laura. Dann I would have wanted to raise maybe one more question.
I don't want to let you off the hook so easily, although I understand, you know, I mean, it's too harmonious for me. In light of the huge repression we are experiencing. We can't just pretend this isn't happening, you know? I mean, listen to politicians who talk about the international appeal of Berlin. Excuse me, people. I don't know about your lives, but I can't imagine that you're not surrounded by people, if you aren't those people yourselves, who think about leaving. And then, you know, so there's a couple of, I wish you would stop this by now, but all right, I'll talk to the camera. It's okay.
Yeah, maybe you can stop for, yeah? Yeah.
Maybe
yeah.
Actually, because at the last round.
Bitte stoppen.